And next on ABC-7 at 4, border visit. Top Trump officials in the Sun City. We will have complete coverage.
He began his campaign with a rhetorical platform of hatred.
Today's visit also drawing some protesters, what they had to say about the Attorney General and head of Homeland Security.
She's a person that cares for everybody.
Several breaking stories out of New Mexico. A woman found dead and the discovery of human remains in the county. And in storm track weather.
We have issued a first alert due to some gusty winds that'll be developing across town on your Saturday. I'll talk more about it coming up in a while.
The reason Bill O'Reilly will be leaving Fox News, a wealthier man. ABC-7 at 4 starts now.
Where news comes first, from the Mesilla Valley and Las Cruces to El Paso and the borderland, this is ABC-7 at 4.
It is here on this sliver of land where we establish a beachhead against the cartels, against the transnational street gangs like MS-13 and the human traffickers. This is the ground. This is ground zero. This is the front lines, and this is where we are making our stand.
The U.S. Attorney General and the head of Homeland in the Sun City today, both addressing the media after a tour of the border and border facilities. Coming up in this hour, what both officials had to say about border security, immigration, the fate of dreamers, and the proposed border wall. We'll also be joined by a member of the local chapter of the National Border Patrol Council. Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us on air, online, and on your mobile. For ABC-7 at 4, I'm Stephanie Guadian. We will get to the border visit in just a minute. The Storm Track Weather Team has just issued an ABC-7 first alert, and we want to go to Storm Track Weather. Taking a live look outside right now, Chief Meteorologist Doppler Dave Spielman is here with our first forecast. Doppler.
Yeah, you know, it's the weekend, and primarily Saturday, we're going to see some gusty winds, especially on the west side of town. That's primarily what we are talking about. So Saturday, the winds are going to crank up. Gustier winds, again, on the west side. And we're also going to be dealing with some cooler temperatures. We're going to say goodbye to temps hovering right around 90 degrees and drop it down into the 70s. So we'll talk specifics about some of the changes coming up in just a little bit.
Doppler, thank you. Tough talk on immigration issues in El Paso this afternoon from President Trump's Attorney General and Homeland Security Secretary. It was the first time DHS Chief John Kelly accompanying AG Jeff Sessions on his ongoing tour of the southern border. ABC-7 reporter Darren Hunt was at the news conference held afterward. He leads off our complete coverage live from downtown. Darren.
Stephanie, the Attorney General and Homeland Security Secretary were only in the room with us for about 20 minutes, taking questions for less than half that time. But the message they sent about immigration was clear, with Sessions saying, if you're thinking about coming to this country illegally, don't come. Now, Sessions started the news conference by stating that he met with immigration judges and ICE lawyers here to discuss the issues with the current system. He added that with the help of Kelly, they've already made what he called, quote, incredible progress to reduce illegal immigrants in the country. He added that last month was the lowest month in 17 years in terms of immigrants entering illegally. Sessions called that, quote, a remarkable thing to accomplish. The former senator from Alabama then issued this stern warning for anyone thinking of coming to the United States illegally.
For those who still seek to violate our laws and enter the country illegally, let me be very clear. Don't come. Please don't come. When you are caught, you will be detained, adjudicated, and deported. Do not come unlawfully. Wait your time.
Now, Homeland Security Secretary Kelly echoed Sessions' remarks today about immigration, but he went into detail on how they will adjudicate many of these immigration cases quicker by bringing judges here to the border. Well, you'll hear what Kelly had to say about that coming up at 5. Stephanie?
Darren, thank you. Today's visit drawing protesters, members of the Border Network for Human Rights and Hope Border Institutes expressing their concerns with the administration immigration policies. Dozens gathered across the street from the federal building holding American flags and signs denouncing the proposed border wall and President Trump's deportation efforts.
He began his campaign with a rhetorical platform of hatred, of xenophobia, of racism, demonizing border communities, demonizing Mexico, demonizing migrants, demonizing Mexicans. The selection of Jeff Sessions as Attorney General and the selection of Secretary Kelly as the head of the Department of Homeland Security represent just another stage in the militarization of our border and in the demonization of migrants in this country.
Now, in less than an hour, El Paso Mayor Oscar Leeser will be discussing his meeting with Sessions and Kelly. This is happening at 5 o'clock at Atlantic Aviation, that is near the airport. ABC-7 will have live coverage. You can watch the mayor's news conference live on our website, and that is KVIA.com. Well, today, President Trump welcomed the Prime Minister of Italy to the White House. Next month, the president will travel to the G7 in Sicily. World leaders are expected to address a number of crises, including Syria and North Korea. ABC's Kenneth Moten has the latest from Washington.
Today, President Trump greeted another world leader at the White House, this time Italian Prime Minister Paolo Gentiloni, just a month before Italy hosts the G7. Syria, the U.S. military strikes, and the country's civil war expected to be at the top of the list. Trump's foreign policy challenges stacking up. Former Iranian President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad criticized the U.S. strikes on Syria and the Iran nuclear deal. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson first said earlier this week Iran was complying, now promising to review the 2015 agreement.
This deal represents the same failed approach of the past that brought us to the current imminent threat we face from North Korea.
South Korea and the U.S. kicking off military exercises called Max Thunder as tensions rise on the Korean peninsula. Also new, China is now on heightened alert, getting bombers and airfields ready. Vice President Pence still in the region on his tour of Asia.
One of the greatest threats we face is the rise and spread of terrorism.
Secretary of Defense James Mattis also oversees in Israel on a Middle East tour, shoring up military relationships. Mattis defended the use of the mother of all bombs in Afghanistan last week, also saying there was no reason to count the number of dead ISIS fighters.
Frankly, digging into tunnels to count dead bodies is probably not a good use of our troops' time.
Next week, Secretary Mattis will brief Congress on the North Korean threat. The Trump administration taking on a number of provocations. This week, the U.S. intercepted Russian bombers just 35 miles off the Alaska coast. Kenneth Moten, ABC News, Washington.
Well, back here in the borderland, we're getting new information on some breaking news that we brought to you on Good Morning El Paso. There was a shooting involving an El Paso police officer. One man was hospitalized. Now, this happened around 1 this morning by the intersection of Pollard and Keltner in northeast El Paso. Police say that a 25-year-old man was shot during a traffic stop. Officers reportedly asked him to step out of the vehicle because he was allegedly acting suspiciously. One officer says he noticed the man reach for a gun, and that is when an officer shot him. Emergency dispatchers say the man's injury is not life-threatening. Police arrested a female passenger but did not say why. Police did say drugs were found in that vehicle. We will keep you posted on air, online, and on social media as we get new details into the newsroom. 62-year-old Las Cruces woman is dead after police say her car rolled out of the driveway and accidentally hit her. ABC-7's Jamie Warren joins us live from our New Mexico mobile newsroom with the latest. Jamie.
Well, Stephanie, Las Cruces police have not identified the woman killed, but we did speak with a neighbor who said he knew her for over 30 years. And of course, he is still in shock over what happened this morning. Now, this all happened by Wild Lane off the US 70, and when we arrived there were multiple police units and an ambulance in front of her house. According to Cruces police, officers found her body pinned underneath her 1974 Plymouth. We saw the car parked inside her garage this morning. We also saw them wheeling what appeared to be her body. Now, the woman investigators say that they believe that the woman started the Plymouth, then walked down the driveway to open the chain link fence, but the car's transmission was in reverse instead of park. They say the car rolled down the driveway, killing her. Police say the woman's sister found her pinned underneath the car. The woman's next door neighbor tells us she had a love for cars.
Her love is her cars, mint cars that she has, and road runners and what have you. She's a person that cares for everybody. She whatever anybody needs or wants to help or whatever, she's always there.
Police say no charges will be filed. Reporting live in Las Cruces with our New Mexico newsroom, Jamie Warren, ABC-7.
Jamie, thank you. A gruesome discovery by a woman cleaning out a home in Mesilla Park. Doñana County Sheriff deputies telling us she found at least 3 sets of human remains. Detectives were called to the home yesterday morning on the 1000 block of Conway after the woman said she found human jaw bones inside of a box. Detectives say the bones seem very old and were dug up. The home belonged to Gaylord Bird, a man who died back in January. Bird left the home to a neighbor who had started clearing out the house. Those remains are with a medical examiner now who's trying to identify them and determine if any criminal activity was a factor. Well, now we have breaking news out of Paris for you this afternoon. French authorities say that around 9 p.m. local time, a gunman opened fire on a police car stopped at a red light, killing 1 police officer. It happened on the famous Champs-Élysées. The suspect fired as he ran away before being shot and killed by officers. Video of the scene coming in as police worked to shut down the famous thoroughfare. Police were told to avoid that area, tweeting a police intervention is underway. Now, the White House says it is monitoring the situation as police there try to work out whether or not this was perhaps terrorist related. Well, after weeks on the run, a 15-year-old Tennessee girl and her former teacher have been found. According to the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, 50-year-old Tad Cummins and Elizabeth Thomas were found in Northern California. Officials say that Cummins has been arrested and that Thomas is now safe. Authorities say the break came when a vehicle belonging to Cummins was found in California. Authorities say that he kidnapped her. The two have been missing since March 13th. Coming up a little later, how authorities were able to track the two as they made their way across the country. Plus, Cummins' daughter has a message for her father now that he's been found. Venezuela is in the midst of a violent protest movement that has left 8 people dead this month. Protests reigniting when the Supreme Court issued a decision stripping the opposition-controlled Congress of its last remaining powers. Yesterday, protesters took part in the mother of all marches, cameras capturing the moment a woman stood up to a National Guard vehicle. 2 students and a police officer, they were killed. Opposition leaders who control Congress, they are now vowing to seek the ousting of Socialist President Nicolas Maduro through constitutional means. But the government-stacked Supreme Court has stopped them at every turn. Today, tens of thousands of protesters flooding the streets again after the government seized a General Motors plant. This was the first such seizure of the major company in 2 years. 2 students are arrested after reportedly making threats against a high school near Houston. Officials say other students and friends they saw those threats posted on Snapchat this morning. Those students then alerted the staff at Clearbrook High, which then led to the arrest. Police did not find any guns on the suspects who are now facing criminal charges. The school has extra officers on site as a precautionary measure. Well, those threats come on the 18th anniversary of one of the deadliest school shootings in U.S. history. Back on April 20th, 1999, Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold went on a shooting rampage at Columbine High School in Littleton, Colorado, killing 12 students and 1 teacher. More than 20 others were wounded. Harris and Klebold turned the guns on themselves after carrying out that attack. Sources personally involved in Bill O'Reilly's exit from Fox News says he will be paid tens of millions of dollars on his way out. Now, those sources say O'Reilly recently signed a new contract reportedly worth $25 million a year. The move comes weeks after it was revealed 5 women who accused O'Reilly of sexual harassment and verbal abuse received about $13 million in settlements. O'Reilly denies those allegations, calling them completely unfounded claims. Well, for cannabis connoisseurs, April 20th or 420 kind of marks an unofficial holiday. Still to come, how marijuana merchants hope to capitalize on 420 and how Americans feel about recreational and medical marijuana when it remains a contentious topic in America.
It is our position that they are holding Aaron Hernandez's brain illegally. They have released the body and withheld Aaron's brain.
New details, bizarre details regarding the death of convicted murderer and former NFL player Aaron Hernandez. Today, a dispute over his brain. And in storm track weather, Doppler.
Yeah, we have issued that first alert for Saturday and the gusty winds anticipated across town. We'll talk about that in a little bit. In the meantime, look at the high temperatures. We're hovering right around 90 degrees across the El Paso area, primarily on the west side of town. Well, we'll talk about the heat yet tomorrow and the changes over the weekend coming up.
All right, Doppler, it is 15 minutes after 4 o'clock. Taking a live look outside right now. This is I-10 and Asarco. You can see we're already seeing a bit of a backup. The afternoon commute, rush hour in full swing. You are watching ABC-7 at 4, where news comes first. Welcome back, everyone. SeaWorld announcing a historic birth at one of its parks. Take a look. Takara gave birth to a calf at SeaWorld San Antonio. The calf will be the last baby killer whale to be born in captivity at SeaWorld parks. SeaWorld announcing it would end orca breeding back in 2016. Takara, though, was already pregnant at the time. SeaWorld plans to let visitors observe Takara and her calf in the near future. And we want to get to storm track weather. Taking a live look outside on your Thursday afternoon, 4/18. I'll get the date right. Beautiful day out there, but it is really starting to warm up, Doppler.
It is. I mean, yeah, we're looking at temperatures running well above the averages for this time of year, and we are expecting some of the changes to arrive in here Saturday. That's why we issued that first alert. I know it's the weekend. You all have big plans scheduled, and again, this is what we're looking at. Gusts to 30 miles an hour. For your Friday. So not too bad, low and windy yet tomorrow. Then the winds start to pick up on Saturday. Gusts to 40 miles an hour. Sunday will be at 30, so the winds will still be in that low and windy category. And then for Monday at 35, then we start to see those winds pick up. Tuesday and Wednesday, we're going to be looking at right around 40 to 45 mile per hour gusts anticipated. So this is the scene for your Saturday. The winds will be coming at us from the east and the southeast. Going to go up and over the Franklin Mountains, gain speed as they come down the mountains. So any activities on the west side that you have for Saturday, it's not going to be brutally windy, but the winds will be gusting to right around 40 miles an hour. I do not anticipate really any blowing dust and sand to occur, but here's your weekend. Again, we're going to go 78 degrees. So as that front comes in here, that will cool us down for your Saturday. So 78, which is a little bit below the average for this time of year. Sunday, the winds will be up, again, low and windy, and 79 degrees anticipated. Las Cruces for your weekend, 75 on your Saturday, 76 expected for your Sunday. And as well, you're going to be dealing with some gusty conditions on the west side. Here's our temperature trend tomorrow. Still going to be very hot. 89 degrees Saturday, 78. We cool things down Sunday at 79. And then Monday, we're going to see those temperatures back up into the upper 80s. Now, here's a look at our latest future track computer model. As we run the model here, you're going to notice on our Thursday that we are going to be dealing with those winds again a little bit and mostly clear skies across the entire area for your Friday. Once we head into your Saturday, we are talking about mainly sunny skies across town. Again, the winds will pick up a little bit. Behind that front, it's going to bring in a little bit of moisture out of the Gulf of Mexico. So we're looking at really well out to the east of us. Portions of Culberson County, Jeff Davis County, you're going to be talking about some chances for some rain. We don't expect any severe weather at this point, but we will have enough moisture in place to see a few scattered showers and maybe an isolated thunderstorm. All right, our temperatures out there right now. We're looking at 91 degrees out at the airport, 88 in Las Cruces. We have 86 in Alamogordo, Sierra Blanca at 89, and Demi, you folks, at 87 degrees, while up at Truth or Consequences at 86. Your county cast for tomorrow. Again, those temperatures going to be climbing into the upper 80s and low 90s. Anthony, New Mexico at 91, Mesilla at 87, and up at Hatch at 88 degrees. So overnight tonight, skies will be mainly clear, 58. Tomorrow will be right around 89 for the high. Las Cruces for you, bottoming out at 50. 86 will be your high for tomorrow. And again, the wind's low and windy for you. Over the next several days, Saturday, again, that's the reason for the first alert, is some gusty winds primarily on the west side. And then next week, those temperatures going to get back up to right around 90, but notice how the windy conditions will persist all the way through next week. We'll take a break, have more after this.
Welcome back, everyone. We have continuing coverage of Attorney General Jeff Sessions and Homeland Security Secretary John Kelly visiting the borderland today. Now, this visit comes as the judge who President Trump railed against during his campaign will now oversee the case of a man who claims that he was unfairly deported by U.S. authorities. Judge Gonzalo Curiel will hear the case of 23-year-old Juan Manuel Montes Bojorquez. Bojorquez was deported to Mexico back in February despite his claim that he was protected under the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program. The DACA program, enacted by the Obama administration, protects undocumented immigrants who came to the U.S. as children from deportation. The program is valid through 2018. Montes is currently in Mexico. He lived in the U.S. since age of 9. DHS Secretary John Kelly addressed that case in El Paso today.
There's a time in his life that this individual was a DACA registrant, but he gave that up by his behavior and by his illegal actions. He's no longer covered by the DACA.
Curiel was frequently targeted by President Trump over his handling of a lawsuit against the now defunct Trump University. Trump repeatedly referred to Curiel, who was born in Indiana but is of Mexican heritage, as a hater and a Mexican. The Trump University case was eventually settled. Reports say Curiel's assignment to the Montes case is coincidental. Jeanette Vizgoreta, an undocumented mother of 4 who has been living in a Denver church since February, has been named one of the 100 most influential people in the world by Time magazine. Now, she took refuge as Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, sought to deport her. Vizgoreta came to the United States from Mexico in 1997 with her husband and eldest daughter. She's been living in the U.S. undocumented since then and now has 3 American-born children under the age of 12. Speaking to CNN this morning, Vizgoreta says she's honored her 20 years of activism for immigrant rights is being recognized. Well, music is everything to some. That is how some Socorro students certainly feel. It's thanks to the district's music program. Coming up in Estelas Escuelas, how the district is now getting some national attention. Welcome back. Now, when it comes to providing music education, the Socorro School District is one of the best in the nation. In today's Estelas Escuelas, we get to hang out with the East Lake Mariachi Band. These are just a handful of the thousands of SISD students exposed to music education from a young age. The National Association of Music Merchants recently naming the district with the 2017 Best Communities for Music Education Award. The award recognizes the district for an exceptionally high commitment and access to music education.
Music is everything. It's an emotion itself. It's what runs your life sometimes. Like it's what keeps you going. I wanted to be a part of like as many music groups as I could, just get a taste of it all. And it's really like the basis. I have a big passion for music, and it's really like the basis of it. Inspires me, and it's the fundamentals. It all matters.
Socorro was one of 527 districts to earn that designation, and congratulations to them. So today is 4/20, which is basically Black Friday for marijuana merchants. For years, April 20th has been an annual celebration of all things cannabis. Recreational pot is legal in 8 U.S. states and Washington, D.C. Now, according to New Frontier, a research company that analyzes the marijuana industry, sales of legal pot grew to $6.6 billion in 2016. That includes $4.7 billion for medical marijuana and $1.9 billion for recreational use. The industry as a whole is projected to exceed $24 billion by 2025. Coming up a little later, the results of a pot poll, how Americans feel about the legalization of marijuana. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. We have more breaking news this hour. Police have now blocked off a couple of lanes along Campbell in downtown El Paso this afternoon. They are investigating a crash involving 2 police motorcycle units. An ABC-7 photographer on the scene capturing these images. Take a look. They show 2 bikes on the ground by the United Bank building. This crash happening just within the last hour. We're waiting to hear from police on exactly what happened. We were, though, able to confirm with a fire department spokesperson that 2 people were taken to a hospital with minor injuries. We're following the story. We'll update you as soon as we get some new information. Meantime, make sure you avoid the area around Franklin and Campbell Streets for a while. Now we want to get to storm track weather. Chief Meteorologist Doppler Dave Spielman is live with the latest forecast. Doppler.
Yeah, we did issue a first alert for the weekend, primarily for Saturday and mainly on the west side of town. That's where we're going to see some pretty strong winds developing. So here's some of the details we're going to be talking about. Saturday, the winds will pick up, gustier on the west side of town. So any time that you're going to spend on the west side on Saturday, you're going to feel the brunt of the winds. And then we're going to bring in some cooler temps. Not going to be cold. I mean, we're going to be a little bit closer to the averages for this time of year. But again, we'll talk about all the changes coming our way. That'll be coming up here in just a little bit. Stephanie?
All right. Thank you very much. Back here in the borderland, we're getting new information on breaking news that we brought to you on Good Morning El Paso. There was a shooting involving an El Paso police officer. 1 man was hospitalized. Now, this happened around 1 o'clock this morning by the intersection of Pollard and Keltner in northeast El Paso. Police say a 25-year-old man was shot during a traffic stop. Officers reportedly asked him to step out of the vehicle because he was apparently acting suspiciously. One officer says he noticed the man reaching for a gun, and that is when an officer shot him. Emergency dispatchers say the man's injury, though, was not life-threatening. Police arrested a female passenger but did not say why. We have new details today about the death of former NFL player Aaron Hernandez. Authorities say that Hernandez hanged himself in his Massachusetts prison cell and was found dead Wednesday morning. Law enforcement source involved in the investigation says Hernandez was found with the words John 3:16 written in red on his forehead. Law enforcement personnel say that the verse is often used by inmates. Hernandez had been serving a life prison sentence for the 2013 killing of Odin Lloyd. Just last week, Hernandez was acquitted in another murder case, the 2012 slayings of 2 men outside of a Boston nightclub. Now, Hernandez's family, they want to donate his brain to CTE Science. Attorney Jose Baez, who got Hernandez acquitted in his second murder trial last week, making that announcement today.
Everyone's well aware of chronic traumatic encephalopathy, which is, in short, is known as CTE. The family of Aaron Hernandez has decided to donate Aaron's brain to this study so that we could possibly help other young men who decide to play football and to help further that cause.
Baez did not say Hernandez had CTE, a degenerative brain disease often caused by trauma. Well, a passenger shoves a pilot in the concourse of Terminal C at Kansas City International. All right, let's back this up so you can see what happened right before. You see a pilot, then a man identified in court documents as Edward Foster of Kansas City, Missouri. They walk off the plane, they walk past security. Watch what happens, though, next as they continue to walk down a hall. Police report says that the man tries to go around the pilot. Now, he is trying to take a picture of the badge. The pilot, though, lifts his hand, and that is when the police report states the passenger's cell phone falls to the ground. The passenger grabs the pilot by the shoulders and shoves him. That man is now cited with intentionally inflicting bodily injury. California police officer makes it through security at Los Angeles International Airport with a gun and boarded a plane to Taiwan. When the plane landed, the officer with the Santa Monica Police Department realized she accidentally left her off-duty gun in her carry-on bag and then went ahead and notified security. TSA is investigating, saying standard procedures were not followed and the employees involved are being retrained. Grant is being detained in Taiwan until the matter is resolved. U.S. Attorney General Jeff Sessions and Secretary of Homeland Security General John Kelly visited the El Paso border today. Afterward, they held a news conference at the federal building downtown to talk about their priorities when it comes to securing the border and cutting down on illegal immigration. ABC-7's Rick Cabrera was on hand for that news conference. He continues our complete coverage, joining us live from the newsroom. Rick.
Stephanie, the two men met with a number of federal departments this morning, getting briefed by the local FBI, CBP, DEA, and U.S. Marshal Service, along with immigration judges and ICE lawyers. General Kelly and Attorney General Sessions also wanted to make it abundantly clear their departments, the Department of Homeland Security and the Department of Justice, are working together hand in hand to, as General Kelly put it, enforce the laws passed by the United States Congress. National polling has consistently shown public opinion opposed to building a wall along our nearly 2,000-mile border with Mexico. But General Kelly reinforced that a wall is needed and will be built.
But that wall has to be combined with technology, no doubt about it. Most importantly to the security of our southern border are the men and women in CVP, ICE, and all the rest of the DHS professionals, not to mention those individuals that serve our country in the Department of Homeland Security. So yes, we need to continue on this initiative to reinforce the southwest border with barrier. But as I've said so many times, I mean, the real objective is to push further south, working with great partners like Mexico, Central American republics.
Both AG Sessions and Secretary Kelly also talked about increasing the number of immigration judges by 125 over the next 2 years to cut back on those big backlogs of immigration cases. To see the news conference, including comments AG Sessions aimed directly at those looking at our country illegally, we have posted it in its entirety at KVIA.com. We'll send it back to you, Stephanie.
All right, thank you. Joining us now is Stuart Harris. He is with the National Border Patrol Council, which represents non-supervisory Border Patrol agents. Thank you very much for being here, Stuart. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
You got a chance to see the news conference earlier this afternoon.
I did.
I want to ask you, do you believe that morale in the Border Patrol was lacking, and is it getting better, and if so, why?
Yeah, it absolutely was a huge problem. I think the Border Patrol was one of the worst government agencies to work for. And throughout the years, the answer from the Department of Homeland Security was to do survey after survey after survey to see if they could find out why. Well, you know, even with the answers that they got, there were no changes.
What were the answers that they got?
Well, morale is terrible. It's, you know, we're top heavy on management. And imagine going to work and not being able to do your job.
And what does that mean when you say not being able to do your job?
Not being able to enforce the law. Under the last 8 years, our agents have basically been handcuffed and not allowed to enforce immigration laws. And so being able to actually do your job, the job you were hired for, the job you took an oath to do, has made a drastic improvement in the morale.
Okay, and you feel like you're being able to do that now and will be able to in the future?
Going forward, yes.
That's the hope. Okay, what about, let's talk a little bit about how secure our border is in our region.
Well, I think we're making improvements. There's still things that obviously need to be done. You know, we've seen ever since we started enforcing immigration laws, we've seen a drop in the number of apprehensions, but at the same time, through fiscal year this year, we've seen about 140% increase in the assaults on Border Patrol agents. So taking steps and measures to secure the border is absolutely essential, not only to the safety of our city, but to the agents that are out there putting their lives on the line every day.
And what kind of assaults have these been?
A lot of rock throwing, fist fights, things like that, and that's nationwide. That's just not just El Paso sector, but I think we're up to about 462 assaults just this fiscal year.
Okay, well, let's talk about the border wall, the proposed border wall. What are your thoughts on that? It certainly would be a change to what our area already has in existence. What do you think?
Well, I think DHS Secretary Kelly said it best when he said it's a combination of not just infrastructure, but it's technology. It's more boots on the ground, hiring more agents to be out there and do the job and secure the border. And that's the message that we've been sending the entire time, and that's what we heard from him again today. So it doesn't make sense to put a 20-foot wall on top of a 1,000-foot cliff, right? So that's not what we're going to see. So I think it's going to be. There will be infrastructure, but it'll be in strategic locations, and I'm sure they'll work with us to identify what those locations and needs are, and we'll get it done.
Yeah. The preliminary plans that have been released and talked about are, a very tall but also very thick wall, one you can't see through. Is that a problem for you?
I guess it depends. There's been a lot of estimates from what I've seen on the wall build as far as how they're going to build, and I saw one estimate that was they were even going to use solar panels and we were going to use that energy. So at this point, I think it's wait and see. I don't think there's an answer on what the final product is going to be.
Okay, so during his visit today, Attorney General Jeff Sessions said that he learned some things that he did not know before. What do you hope that he learned about our area, the borderland?
Well, El Paso, the people are great here. Hospitality is great in El Paso, so I'm sure that's probably one of the things that he did learn. One of the issues that I have, we know that typically with not just El Paso sector, but with any of these visits like this, you're going to get best foot forward, right? And I think to identify areas of deficiencies, you need to be able to go and see those deficiencies. And a perfect example of that is our forward operating bases that we have in New Mexico. They're a complete waste of taxpayer dollars. They're not effective, but because of a congressional mandate, we're sending people out there to staff these forward operating bases. So for me, I would like to see Attorney General Sessions and DHS Secretary go spend 24 hours out there with our agents at these forward operating bases and then come back and see what their thoughts are.
Yeah, so make some changes. Before we go on, I just want to go back to one answer that you gave. Apprehensions are down, but assaults on the Border Patrol agents up.
Right.
Why do you think that is? Are people just frustrated? What?
It's hard to say. It's hard to say what's driving that. The assaults typically come from those that are trying to, the more hardened criminals and things like that. They don't typically come from the sort of mom and pop type of people that we sometimes see. So that might be part of the problem. But I would suggest that securing the border is not only going to help Border Patrol agents, but having a secure border is a safe border. So we don't have to, as agents, go out there and watch people go in the canal and never come up. Because those are hard things to take home to your family. Those are hard things to see. And so securing the border can eliminate or at least reduce a lot of those things. So it's not just for the assaults, it's not just for the safety of the city, it's for the safety of everybody involved so that we can move forward and move on to maybe immigration reform.
Yeah, probably a lot of misconceptions out there about what life is really like, here in the borderland. You're glad that you actually had some of these people come down and see for themselves firsthand?
Well, I would, I'm glad that they came down. Anytime that we get a visit like that, it shows that they're paying attention and taking notice of what's happening here and what we're doing here, which generally is a good thing. I would like to have had time with them myself to show them maybe some things that they wouldn't otherwise see. And like I said earlier, it's about identifying the deficiencies so you can move forward and secure the border.
Okay. All right. Again, Stuart Harris, thank you so much for dropping by and spending some time with us this afternoon. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. We have more breaking news from West El Paso right now. Police are investigating a suspicious death at 5450 Suncrest, which are townhomes near South Mesa Hills. Investigators with the Crimes Against Persons Unit, they are there. Spokesperson is on the way to provide more information for us, which we will then give to you. An ABC-7 crew also on the way. We'll have an update for you coming up on ABC-7 at 5. Now we want to get to storm track weather. An ABC-7 first alert in effect. Chief Meteorologist Doppler Dave Spielman is live with our forecast. Doppler?
Yeah, the first alert is not for today or tomorrow. It is is for Saturday. I know it's the weekend. A lot of you folks have big plans, and we're going to see the winds start to crank up. In fact, we're going to get right to our wind gust tracker here in the forecast. Notice by 7 o'clock, well, we start to see the winds pick up. Notice they're coming from the east, so they're going to go up and over the Franklin Mountains and the Oregon Mountains and produce some gustier conditions on the west side of town. So if you have any activity scheduled for the west side Saturday, you're going to see some stronger winds. I don't anticipate much in the way of any blowing dust or sand, so that is the good news. Here's a look at lunchtime, and you can see how those winds start to come down a little bit by 7 o'clock on your Saturday night. The winds come down, and then they pick up a little bit once we head into your Sunday. So still we're anticipating a fairly windy day on Sunday, although wind gusts will be really in the low end of the windy category. So here's a look at our 7-day wind gust, and we're talking about the peak wind gusts we're experiencing. We're going to talk about 30-mile-an-hour gusts on Friday, 40 on Saturday, then down to 30 on Sunday, 35 Monday. We'll hit 40 on Tuesday, and then perhaps 45 on Wednesday. So it's going to be Tuesday and Wednesday of next week that we could see maybe some areas of blowing dust and sand. All right, the Lavinia Wine Festival taking place this weekend from noon to 7. Here you go. There's your Saturday, 78 degrees and 79 anticipated on your Sunday. Temperature trend Friday, tomorrow, 89, 78 on Saturday. So we will cool things down behind that front. Sunday at 79, and then Monday, we're going to be back up to nearly 90 degrees. Our future track computer model tonight, all the storms are going to stay out of our area. You can see how they kind of blow up in Oklahoma and make their way towards the east and the northeast. But we're going to be looking pretty nice. Again, that front will make progress in here by late Friday into Saturday. And that's the reason for the winds picking up, and also the reason for some cooler air that will make its way in here for your Saturday and Sunday. Las Cruces right now, you're at 88. 87 in Deming, 91 out at the El Paso Airport, and we have 86 degrees there in Alamogordo. All right, your county cast area-wide. Fort Bliss at 89. Montana Vista at 88. Tomorrow, Fabens at 89. And Clint, you guys will hit 90 degrees. Overnight tonight, temperatures bottom out at 58. Tomorrow will be right around 90 degrees for the high. Las Cruces for you at 50. Your high temp tomorrow will make it up to 86 degrees. And then you'll notice over the next several days, 78 Saturday, 79 on Sunday. Again, the winds will stay pretty consistent now all the way through next week. And we'll keep our temperatures next week hovering right around 90 degrees. We'll have more news after the break.
Support for legalizing marijuana in the U.S. reaches a new high. 61% of Americans think pot should be legal. That's according to a new CBS News poll. 88% support medical marijuana use. Now, the majority of Americans don't think the federal government should try to ban the sale of marijuana in states where it is legal. But the Trump White House seems to disagree. Press Secretary Sean Spicer says there may be more enforcement because federal drug laws list marijuana as an illegal substance.
All right, there's the 7-day forecast. Windy conditions all the way through next week. Again, that first alert is for Saturday with gusty conditions primarily on the west side of town. We'll talk more about it coming up at ABC-7 at 5.
Thank you. Thank you for watching ABC-7 at 4. Don't go anywhere. Estela Casas and Rick Cabrera standing by for ABC-7 at 5.